Ready, Hutch.
Oh, wait. Are we doing anything? Are we just talking to it?
No,
or?
we're just talking. Yes. And okay. Hey, how you guys doing? It's producer from Brothers Comics. Welcome to the Marvel Hacks Season 11, Episode 2. If you are listening or watching on the YouTube stream version of this, you'll see us with a little bit of a fumble there. We are talking X-Men 1991 last week. Did the opening issue with Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. Getting into issue number 2 tonight with that same team, and there's only one issue left with that whole group. And as you're looking at the book, and before we get to the introductions, you'll see on the title they got co-headlines there as the writers of this particular book, which is probably the reason that one of them will be gone after the third issue. On the line tonight, I have all the cast of the Marvel Hacks on the line. To Sandman. Sandman, say what's happening.
We're recording. Gotcha, nigga. Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. You keep your shirt out of frame, man. You're gonna come on the Marvel Hacks with a shirt on that's not Marvel hacky. I'm just saying.
Hey. It is what it is. Fine Walmart quality shirt here.
We're gonna put one of them black bars on there, like if you had some titties. So you can't see that shirt. Also on the line tonight, it's Brother Beavers. What's going on, man?
Yeah, is this thing on? Hello, technology.
Yeah.
What's up?
I was listening to one of our
Kenneth.
I was listening to one of our other podcasts, and Brother Beavers, we had to just reshoot it over. I was like 3, 2, 1, and you made a nutted sound, and I was like, oh, yeah, like giggles for 10 seconds. Everybody press stop. Also on the line, it's Big Hutch, man. You got a cast of Marvel figures because it is the Marvel Hacks behind you there.
That's all I got. But yeah, they're all the X-Men that I think I got. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the build? What's the Builder figure there?
That's Apocalypse, I think.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, it's a Sentinel. It's a Sentinel.
You have an angel figure on the back.
I know, believe me. I didn't know I even had the son of a bitch. Otherwise, I'd throw him off. That's
not
awful.
Even Archangel?
I actually spent money on that piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, they got you.
Yeah, they do.
And Omega Red, too.
Well, get to that here momentarily, unfortunately. Yeah, so tonight...
and Cyclops.
It's issue 2 tonight. To recap from issue 1, Magneto is back. We get the Acolytes here. We get a comic book fight. Pew, pew, pow, wow, bang. And basically they're really just setting up this 3-issue arc for Magneto here as he gets introduced back into the X books when they restarted these books. Yeah, I mean, that's basically where we are. There isn't any real setup for this other than the fact that with Magneto also being back, we also get a chance to get an introduction to more of the Acolytes here, like where people actually get name checked. And this book is just, as we have dubbed, rawr! It's just a bunch of fighting. Like it is. It's a bunch of splash pages, a bunch of action shots, a bunch of people staring like they're about to do an action shot. It's just this whole thing. Do you remember reading this originally, Hutch? Like, or this is just your first time coming back to it in 20?
This is my first time seeing this thing in a good 20 years. I would guess.
Right. Brother Beavis, you remember these times?
Yeah, and this is the part where it's like, now at this point, I think like the first part of the Gold series has come out, which made this part like extra weird because it's like, well, I don't understand what's
They're
happening.
Not speaking to each other. Yeah, the books aren't. But I think we still got a couple more issues before they actually do the Voltron merge thing, like where they're kind of all together.
They cameo at the end of this one.
Yes, they do. Yeah, feature I think is the
my bad.
Yeah, there you go. So this issue is called Firestorm. Again, written by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee. They are listed as co-plotters on this. The art is by Jim Lee. Scott Williamson, who winds up becoming Jim Lee's personal, I mean, he's probably the most famous inker since Banky Edwards, that he's just like ridiculous that he just follows Jim Lee around essentially at this point. I mean, I think he still inks all of his books, to be honest with you, or whatever books that he's drawing. So, I mean, yeah, he's just a super famous dude at this point. So we're going to try to do the share screen here to go through the book with you if you're watching on the YouTube version. We'll see how this goes. Let's see how it goes. It's never been good. Let's try it. Oh, yeah, there we go. How about that? Look at that cover. What do y'all think of that cover, y'all? That's a
technology.
classic Jim Lee cover.
Looks pretty grim.
Yeah. Well, why is Xavier out here getting choked instead of some of these other X-Men?
You like that shit.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, they were probably like that. We open up with a big old splash page with the Magneto giving us basically the recap of what happened in the first book about the Acolytes.
Literally.
My note says Magneto opens the book monologue and Hush.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had red eyes.
Jim Lee likes to do that for some reason. He like coloring Magneto red.
Maybe that's because he's
eyeballs.
supercharged by Cortez at this point.
Yeah, it's like
he's on some sort of stimulant now that we know Magneto is a junkie.
Yes, yes, we did establish that last week. Magneto has addictive
Mike
personality
Tyson punch
disorder.
out or something.
Yeah,
whatever.
Jesus.
Okay, so the Acolytes attacked Earth while Magneto was sleeping. Essentially, they find Rogue, who had got knocked over to Genosha conveniently, and then they have a comic book fight with the X-Men, and then Magneto finally shows up to kind of shut it all down, and that's kind of where we picked up here, where Magneto's like, you're not going to punish my dudes. If anybody's going to punish them, it'll be me. And then we get this. What I'm now going to term as a classic Jim Lee shot, where you have like people essentially staring at the camera, like delivering dialogue, almost movie-like in itself. Magneto's like, hey, I'll punish these dudes, and Cyclops is a full dick. And I cannot read any of his dialogue, Brother Beavis, outside of the X-Men animated series voice. I can't do it.
I did the same thing. As I was looking at this, I was like, why should the Master of I was like, totally. You should also point out the Beast has his mouth open again.
Yes, he's snarling. Yes, yeah. It's snarling Beast. Keep a running count of it. Also now tonight, keep a running count of crotch and butt shots for Psylocke. Because there are a lot of them. I know we're keeping counts for a lot of different things here, but there are a lot of those as we get through this. But yeah,
that's a great. I mean, that is a great shot, though. A great portrait drawing. I mean, if I was get that'd be a perfect T-shirt. Get rid of all that dialogue.
Yeah, he can draw his ass off.
Get rid of that dialogue. It's funny. I think that was Jim Lee's sentiment as he was constructing.
These books would be great if we didn't have to write them. So yeah, we come back in full fight mode here. Cyclops and Beast still kind of holding grudges here with this whole thing. And then my note here says Rogue keeps appealing to Magneto for some of that Savage Land D. Like it just keeps coming up, man. She's like, "Come on, man, don't do this," and he's like, "Bitch, I already smashed. Leave me alone. Like, which is over." Girl, that was in the past. Like, leave me alone. And so we're thinking Retro got to get another fight, and of course we do, as it's full comic book style, and Magneto's Genosha tries to defend itself, and my note says Genosha got that Reconstruction defense, like post Civil War defense, man. They like took all their weapons and did everything to them that they can barely defend themselves. Trying to attack him with some stuff, and it just doesn't work. Those stories with Genosha always seem like it would be a good jumping off point for a movie. Like I'm kind of surprised it never made it into one of those X-Men movies over time, Hutch, but it seems like Genosha would be rich for that kind of thing.
What is Genosha? I mean, it's just like a little island somewhere, or it just exists.
There's like 6 million mutants on it or something, 8 million, whatever the hell it was, and all got killed. But
it's like this little mythical place that where you need to go to get away from normals. And and Wolverine is a bartender there, and he doles out missions and what? Okay, sure.
I think
you're thinking of Madripoor.
Oh, that place. Yeah, whatever, man.
That's when he was patched and like patch on, and you couldn't recognize.
I don't think they were ready to fully delve into the slavery storyline.
Yeah, they couldn't go all the way. Well, I think the modern day version of this was supposed to be South Africa under apartheid.
That's what I always thought.
And the parallels were from that, but they couldn't go all the way there. But yeah, so Magneto's like, all right, I'm gonna take care of these dudes. we just get this, this kind of fight here and there. All right, so there's one shot there of Psylocke's butt. And then when you get to the next panel, there's another one before she meets Cortez and he sexually assaults her with his powers.
Yes.
It's true. Like, I mean, and that's what the thing is too. And I sent this out to y'all. What are Fabian Cortez's actual powers? I know in the cartoon, he was supposed to be some sort of healer, but it seems like in this book and then in books later I read that his powers seem kind of nebulous here. They're kind of moving around. So what does the Marvel group powers survey say for the powers for Fabian Cortez?
So I think he has the ability to amplify mutant powers. And so in this case with Psylocke, he amplifies her telepathy to the point where she can't control it. She can't shut out the rest of the world. So for Magneto, he overpowers, or he supercharges as Magneto's powers are weakening, he keeps supercharging him to the point where it ends up like draining his physical power. Whatever, I guess.
Because comics.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know what like his glowing punch is. And the fact that he can like outfight a ninja.
Yeah.
Seems like a stretch.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, so he kisses her and amplifies her powers, which sends her off into a crotch shot there where, there's another one. And then it kind of bleeds into this other scene with the, I don't know, what is it? The National Security Council, the whatever between this. China's there. This is still the Soviet Union. That's how old this shit is. The Soviet Union is there. If you look at Nick Fury's outfit, if that don't tell you that 90s comics are on
Jesus.
Look at, I mean.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
Yeah, Nick Fury, first Proud Boy. I think he was started.
Oh, Jesus.
So I mean, just a hot mess. And so basically, Russia's, or the Soviet Union, excuse me, is like, hey, we don't want to, this is some crap. He's about to kill us, and we need to ignite these, these Magneto protocols, which, they start to tell you about a little bit, a bit at a time, but they want to go to the next level, like this. The United States is, we're on DEFCON 1 now. I mean, Nick Fury is just kind of this intermediary between the two groups or whatever, all the groups. And then we get Val Cooper, who, again, she played such a vital role in like the Freedom Force days, but then she's back here, but I'm not really sure what her role is in this. Anybody know what Val Cooper is doing at this point in time other than standing there?
My guess would be she's still in a similar role, but she doesn't have the pull because of everything else has gone so poorly prior to this point.
Yeah. The Genoshans are pissed because they can't defend themselves. We used to use slaves to fight. This is bullshit. So yeah, it's that. And so they want to go to the next level in the Magneto protocols. And then we get back to the fight on Genosha. And there's that shot. There's another butt shot for Psylocke, by the way. And then I didn't understand why the Genoshan Huts were beating the shit out of Psylocke. She can't keep them out of their head, but like they're just mad because their island got attacked again. Like they were like, hey, we're all about that peace until y'all attack our island.
She was the easiest one to beat up, or I don't know.
I think this is another case where Fabian Cortez's power has overcharged her to the point where she's amplifying all their already negative reactions.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Sounds good.
It's like you guys have never read comics before. You can't fill in the blanks. The missing narrative
there's a lot of.
I am seeking no explanation.
Right there's a lot of implied there, I guess. Yeah, sorry.
I guess. Yeah. Beast makes the hot tag save, wrestling reference. Fuck Hulk Hogan. And they get her, he gets her out of there, or at least rescues her. And again, I can't read his dialogue, also not in the voice of Beast from X-Men and the animated series. That gentleman, although in your collective case are child murder. I'm like, oh my god,
a strong Beast.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we try. All right, so yeah, we get to that point. And then, we get, again, this is just the full comic book battle, Sandman. Like, there's been pages of just people fighting one another. And then y'all's all favorite mutant, Gambit, gets to drop on Fabian Cortez. He's like, man, I can beat up ninjas. I can sexually assault people and amplify their powers. And I get beat with a stick.
I did laugh out loud when he cracked his ass on the head with that damn stick. Is he just standing there kind of mocking Beast and it's like, Get your ass.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It cracks him in the head. And then Magneto appears and fucks up everything, but still. Funny moment.
Like, enough, essentially. He's like, enough of this already. And he's, he wraps up Wolverine and Cyclops with some metal types of stuff. And I don't know what he does with the other ones, drops them down to the floor. It's just that. And so we shift. I've gotten to the point now where I like to read all of Claremont's plot boxes, like aloud. Half a world away in the suburban New York City mansion that houses Professor Charles Xavier's School for the Gifted Youngsters and serves as the X-Men secret headquarters. It's like,
Jesus Christ.
That was a lot, bro. All right, and so this is where the book, it doesn't get as bad as it's coming though. Like the art starts to get real goofy. One, these outfits that they're wearing,
they look like they're about to start wrestling, or I don't know what that is. That's some.
Well, so remember, this was after you got to connect the dots, right? They had reinstituted the yellow and blue uniforms, and they went like I can't remember if Forge generated, but when they had, I think it might have been when they had a sorry team. They reinstituted the uniforms. They have like body armor, like location tracers. They have like all this technology. So number one, their support crew is still decked out in these nobody's told them they're not on the team yet, so they just keep showing up in their uniform.
They're on a team. They're on a it rhymes with May team.
Yeah. But when everyone else was missing, you remember the team was Banshee and Forge were the headliners. So
strong guy.
Yeah, no, he was only an ancillary character still. He's hadn't made his shift to X Factor.
Yeah,
I would say like if you didn't know better and you look at this picture, you might think Forge was actually pretty decent. He looks like he's ready to go.
He looks like a professional wrestler.
Can he carry any more shit? Jesus Christ, he got stuff on top of vests and
right.
I don't want to be culturally insensitive here, but like, he's got all this shit on, but he definitely made to make sure he had his Native American boots on.
I was about to mention that.
Okay, like all the shit that you could have had on, he made sure he had that on.
Sometimes technology can't improve on something, right? He's got a good pair of boots.
My knee-high moccasins. I can't fuck with those.
He's a fan of the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, it's just a lot. And then we're going to talk about Banshee here in a minute for a couple of reasons. But yeah, this shot is really weird. There's a lot going on in this picture with dialogue and then background stuff. Like this is something that Jim Lee isn't necessarily good at, is backgrounds. Like that's not his forte at all. This is a very confusing shot with everything that's going on with all the dialogue. So Banshee is there along with Forge. They're setting up the mansion's defense system because obviously, he's going to come for us or whatever, next, because obviously, why wouldn't he? And, so they're setting up the mansion for that. Charles is like, yeah, this is terrible. Where's Moira? And he's like, oh, she went out to the beach house or whatever. And then, Banshee, which is her man or whatever, is like, oh, I'll come with. And he's like, no. Like, no, I'm going. I'm like, hold up, man. How you gonna tell me I can't go talk to my woman? For real, Charles? Oh, y'all hit
mine first 10,000 years ago.
You still smash? Hey, no, right? Again, yeah. Which version of Moira is this?
I was gonna say, you know what? I mean, maybe this is the version where he's already in on the he's already in on the secret. He can't ruin it for Banshee.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
I'm gonna guess they weren't actually plotting that at this point.
No, probably not. But yeah, it was just kind of weird. So I said we'd talk about Banshee a little bit here. Okay, so in the early X-Men books, when he's in his not this shitty uniform here, and before he loses his powers, it was actually one of my favorite characters. I thought his power was kind of cool, where he could essentially just scream at people and shit. Who wouldn't want to do that? And he loses his powers. He becomes like a fucking secret agent 007 Bond nigga for a little bit until his powers heals up, and then he just comes back, and he's really just like a spot show dude at that point. He comes in, has a couple of Hulk Hogan, and comes in, has a couple of moments, and then he's gone. And then and he just, I guess, established himself on Muir Island with Moira. He just doesn't really do anything. So I told y'all to pull his Marvel card to see what kind of action he have if you were doing. So what's his total hit points for Banshee? He can't be over 100.
Mine says 90.
I got 70. I don't know. I'm looking at classic Marvel Forever.
This is the advanced, I think.
Oh, he must have leveled up.
Still crappy.
You know, as you were describing him, I was like, he's like the Brad Armstrong of X-Men. Solid worker, had a decent look. You know, his finisher was all right, but he couldn't talk. He never got a title. Like maybe a tag team title. But
it burdened Hutch with this freaking, even if you can't hear it, this burden with this terrible accent in the damn books. It's like I can't even understand what you're saying. I mean, honestly, you were a fan of Banshee? I don't remember.
He was all right. I think he did what he had to do when he lost his powers. No tears.
Yeah.
I was more of a fan of Sunfire and Thunderbird, and it's probably just a case of since you got less of both of them, like they made them more appealing. Like if they had stuck around as long as Banshee did, I might have hated both of them too.
He all taught us how to say boyo. I mean, there was that. You know?
Did you guys see I'm sure you've seen it by now, the Generation X live action show where he was in it
on Fox?
Oh God, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I watched it.
That was not great.
No.
I'm just thinking, like he got a live action feature like well before many other characters because of that show.
Let the record show that Fox's handling of pretty much all X properties is shaky at best.
Yeah.
I think, you know,
I agree.
They had a few,
a few
breakthroughs, but mostly, they were god awful.
Yes, they were.
You gotta, I mean, even still, I mean, again, those X-Men movies, they were kind of hit or miss. And then all the stuff that they've done on the side here recently, you know, they had that little show, The Gifted or whatever.
Like, are you going to give them credit for the animated series though?
Yeah, I mean, but is that Fox? That's Fox Animation. Is that Fox? Okay, we'll give them that. Hutching, I didn't give him credit for it.
That's right.
But, yeah, I mean, you got to give them something. I hear you.
Batman animated series.
Toilet paper to wipe up that shit.
Oh, geez. Anyway,
boo that man.
Boo you. So we get back into the Genosha. We get this fight. Rogue still peeling on that Savage Land D, man. Like, come on, man. Seriously, why are you still doing this? He's like, bitch, go away. I changed my number. I don't want to talk to you no more. Like, leave me alone. Like, I mean, she's literally not getting it at all. And then literally, and then in the midst of that, Psylocke gets the drop on Magneto, and her amplified powers is able to use her psychic knife. Now, we counted when she's going to say this through the series where she uses the totality of her powers or whatever. Like, she doesn't think it here, but she kind of says it. Does this one count? She goes, and my amplified powers made my psychic knife so strong. You know, do we give her credit for that one? No. Right, so she stays at 1. That's fine.
I would like to point out, though, I mean, this is sort of still in the weird period where they're trying to remind us that she is still Betsy Braddock, the English lady, because their dialogue is like, your pet boy Fabian did his job too well, chum. That's not how ninjas talk. So I think that's another thing we lose here shortly when Claremont's off the book is her this whole concept of her as used to be Psylocke gets completely subsumed by, no, I think she's just a ninja, and that whole part of her goes away.
Yeah.
I got a question, and her power level, I think her normal psychic knife or whatever is like maybe remarkable.
Oh, wow. Really?
That's pretty poor.
That's pretty terrible.
That's true.
I mean, but who's got defenses against psychic powers? So, I mean, you usually can get through people.
Yeah. I'm
amazing psionic weapon.
Amazing.
Wow, really?
That's the classic
amazing
version.
Energy damage and must automatically check for stun by rolling their psyche rather than endurance. That's pretty legit.
Yeah, I'll take it.
That is legit.
I wouldn't have not thought that.
She has to make a fighting attack, or she has to succeed on fighting, and then.
But as Psylocke, she should be a decent fighter.
Remarkable. She can't get with Beast is a better fighter than her.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
She's got amazing fighting in the advanced version. Good grief.
Of course she does. Yeah. everybody gets like those advanced version. Yeah, everybody got essentially bumped up a level on almost everything because they realized some of the people couldn't do shit against those people. Like, hey, these are a popular character, and he can't do anything against body armor, so he just sits there and rolls around in a circle. All right. So yeah, she happens there, and then one of the acolytes gets the drop on them. It's Chrome, by the way. Anybody know anything about Chrome before this thing, or before they even shouted him out? They gave him the rogue skunk spot in his hair. So thing, no.
Good for him, I guess.
Yeah. And he doesn't even chrome up Cyclops and Wolverine. He only chromes up everybody else, which I thought was kind of weird.
They already
had them.
Yeah, he already had them. But yeah, they put them in. What's the word that they use? They're in a transitory state, statue state. Okay, got it.
Stasis.
They putting words together. That's all.
And Magneto's like, all right, let's pull off, man. Y'all done messed up. I came down here. I wasn't trying to fight today. Y'all done messed up. I had to come down here. Let's take the car back to the house. And pulls everybody back off the asteroid M. All right. And then when they get back up to asteroid M, like I didn't understand this. It looked like in the picture, like he got Magneto in this thing. It looked like Magneto went to get a lift. Like he's like, all right, I'm gonna go fight these niggas, and let me go get a lift in afterwards. But it must be some sort of machine, since he's got all these electrodes or whatever pumped into his body. And he starts to tell him this story. It's like, hey man, your DNA is fucked up. Like I don't know what happened. I was trying to heal you or something, man, but it didn't work. And it's starting to lay the groundwork for this story or whatever that comes up later. And then they pull this story about, the protocols here, about the Russians shooting off their plasma grenade or plasma cannon for use later on, but we'll come back to it. All right. So then we get back to the boathouse, and Charles and Moira are having this conversation. And this is where I was talking about.
Ain't the only thing Moira's having.
Yeah, they know.
Well, look, she's got a whole ass bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucked up, y'all.
This is where I was talking about where the art starts to go off or south here. Yeah, I mean, it's a noticeable difference in terms of the clarity that was in the first part of the book and in this part. Like it just seems like it's a little bit off. Yeah, it does. It very much feels like, hey man, we need to get this book out in 28 days. You need to get the pages done, and it just kind of goes through it.
Attack of the assistant artist.
Yeah, but it doesn't list an assistant artist. But is that like the rappers who have people ghosting for them, and you just don't say anything?
Yeah, it's like how Ozzy Osbourne wrote his first 5 albums by himself.
Yeah.
That sounds like sarcasm to me.
Yeah. It's more like bitter irony, I would say.
Yeah. So they drop. He comes in. He's like, "Surprise, bitches!" And he pulls up the whole house and takes it to space, which is kind of funny. And then Forge and Banshee are holding their dicks. I mean, honestly, seriously, how did y'all not know that was gonna happen? I mean, come on, man. He even told y'all that was gonna happen, and it did wind up happening. But yeah, it was just a big old mess. So we get there, and then it takes us into space, and then look at the art, y'all. For real, this doesn't even look at Moira's face compared to some of his other upfront drawings. It's just different.
It looks unfinished. It's kind of strange, almost like a draft, but all of the art kind of looks like that in this page.
Yeah. Oh no, the rest of the book compared to the first part of the book is oh wait a second, this doesn't seem like it's the same damn artist. But like I said, it just seems like it had to get done, and they were like, we need to get this book out on time. So yeah, so he goes over this story about this DNA and that happened. I know one of y'all did it. So who did it? And Charles is like, my name is Bennett, man. I ain't in it. And then Moira's a little bit more quiet than that. And, he's like, I know, and he pushes Charles out into space. Tell me who did it. Did you order the code red? He's like, you goddamn right, I did. And Moira's like, all right, I did it. And then we go back to this story. And I asked y'all today, did y'all read Defenders number 16? there's a little note there from Bob Harris, the editor-in-chief at the time, about when Magneto got turned into an infant, into a baby. Anybody read Defender 16 at some point in time in their life?
I think the idea of the Defenders has always been interesting to me, but every time I've actually tried to read a book, this is terrible.
I had a couple Defender comics.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Up yours. Anyway, yeah, I didn't go back that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did during lunch today. During my lunch break today, I went back into Defender 16. Let's not ask about what website I had to get on for that shit.
I was wondering.
Marvel.com?
Yeah, sure. It was 1979, by the way. The Defenders, the Defenders team was consisting of Doctor Strange,
Valkyrie. Yeah.
Nighthawk.
Let's call that nigga Blue Falcon minus Dynamite. But what, Nighthawk?
Nighthawk.
That is Nighthawk. Was there anybody else?
Was Namor and Silver Surfer not?
Yeah,
no, Valkyrie was there. Namor was not a part of the team at that time. And then Charles Xavier was hanging out with them for some reason. And so, yeah, Magneto and Unis, the Untouchable Man, he had created some sort of mutate, essentially, Magneto did, who had these weird powers. And the more
the
more he used his powers, the bigger his head got, essentially. And more sentient, essentially. And, you know, he was like, all right, well, once he became, you know, more aware of what was going on, he's like, you know, Magneto, you bad, you know, it was like the baby in Toy Story 3, and like, man, throw the little bear into the garbage can. Like, he just got all mad and he turned like all the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants into babies. And that was it. But the way you read that shit, it wasn't like, oh, you know what? This is a crazy story later on. We're going to, like, you know, turn this into some plot later on. Like, it was like, oh, okay, this is just the end of a bullshit comic in 1979. We're going to turn like all, because the page literally ends with all the new mutants as babies, or new mutants, all the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants as little babies, like in their costumes, all huge on them and shit like that. It was pretty terrible, by the way. Just FYI.
That's the Defenders in a nutshell, baby.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Thanks for taking that hit for us.
Yeah, it was.
You're
bad.
welcome.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So their story from there, I'm assuming this is completely retcon, is that like, hey, okay, so they adopted this little Magneto baby, you know, allegedly, you know, we'll get to what was going on with him, but you know, allegedly she fooled with his DNA and got to it's essentially like, would you know, nurse baby Hitler if you had the chance storyline. I mean, that's basically it is.
I like how they get him back as like Uncanny X-Men 104, the Shi'ar intervened. Yeah. And like, you know, somebody's like, we need to have Magneto in there. And then somebody's like, sir, Magneto's a baby right now. And they're like, shut the fuck up.
He's like, yeah, somebody's like, you know how we can fix that?
Guess what? He ain't a baby no more. Shi'ar did some shit. What? Yeah. We're writing comic books. Shut the fuck up.
No one think about this shit 40 years later.
So yeah, it was just kind of weird there. I mean, and Hulk was like kind of like he was kind of smart, but he would like say how he would smash things. And then he was like, "Oh, these are my friends." And then Nighthawk was useless. Like, useless.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was like, damn, dude, you really do need Dynamite to be any kind of like story, man.
Damn.
Awful.
He does look like Blue Falcon.
It is Blue Falcon. It looks like.
He gets stronger at night. It's Batman. It's a Batman ripoff.
That is terrible.
That's straight force factor, bro.
I was thinking the same thing.
Whoa. Hey, that's strike 2.5. This Zoom has another power. You can go through this shit if you have to.
Sorry. Yeah. So he takes Moira back where Moira has to confess essentially in front of everybody. There's another everybody staring at the camera shot, by the way. And you know, so she goes over and she tells the story about how, you know, he was getting too powerful, so she manipulated his DNA, hoping that it would change, you know, essentially his history and, you know, of, you know, killing everybody essentially. And he's like, well, that's messed up. You messed up. I couldn't make my own decisions. That's that whole like essentially baby Hitler thing. And
of course she fucked that up too.
Yeah,
she did. Well, I mean, let's keep it 100. Moira be fucking up.
Yeah,
Moira
she does.
She do.
I mean, honestly, her kid was all. I mean, I guess she didn't have no control over that, but she did. She didn't keep him locked up enough. And the kid went out and killed everybody that he could possibly kill. I mean, yeah, Moira be fucking up. So, we get into this, and he goes over this whole thing, and he's like, all right, well, we're gonna use whatever process that you used on me, we're gonna use it on the X-Men, and see how they like it. And don't try to lie to me that you're not gonna give them, Jim Jones juice powder, to make them, do whatever. And so they dropped this little prologue in between all of that, when we go out to the Sakalani Islands. I looked this up. That does actually exist. This is not Claremont on some bullshit. Those islands do actually exist somewhere off the coast of Japan. And, without going into everything, this is basically the birth of Omega Red. It sucks. Yeah. This is like, the EMP that Magneto let off wind up not destroying, but distracting or whatever the people that were guarding his tomb or whatever, and this allowed this Soviet general who's a spy, a sellout, to sell like the secrets of where he was to Matsuo Tsurasaba. Who is that? That's not
that's one of those cats that was involved with the Psylocke incident, I believe. But hand, something with a hand.
Well, the hand do make their appearance here as well.
I think if you remember the Mandarin episodes, wasn't he like the number 2 dude that was that the Mandarin was working through?
Was it? Yeah. You got me on that one.
Yeah, this shit's way over my head. I had checked out.
What's the double cross? Like, hey, we're gonna sell out. Cool, I'm gonna give you your money. Oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna kill you. I never told you how long you were gonna get to keep the money. I'm gonna give it to you, but we're still gonna kill you. So there's that, and we get an appearance of the hand. The hand suck, by the way. That's just a whole side topic. The hand are just absolutely awful. Every time they show up in a book.
They're a bunch of freaking know-nothing ninjas and fodder. That's all they are.
They do get Wolverine every 10 or so thrust.
Yeah.
He just be like, oh, well, that's 10 points of damage. I can take it.
Yeah.
I thought the in the Daredevil show where they were almost like zombies was a little bit of an interesting take. But they were still just fodder.
Yeah.
Fodder. Right
there.
Yeah.
Hey, let me join this organization and get killed in 3 seconds. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So back on Asteroid M, Xavier's been thrown into the closet, and the X-Men show up. There's another camera stare shot. Look at the art though, seriously. Like that is not the same thing as the others. Like just
some are, and then some are just
it seems like it drifts in and out.
5th grade classes.
Wolverine looks like a big Wolverine looks like a bust. Like
is that a head of Wolverine sitting on a shelf behind you?
Exactly, yeah. He's like, I like to thank my mama and Jesus Christ for getting me into the Hall of Fame, because that looks like a Hall of Fame.
He must have about a 50-inch neck.
I mean, it's bad. Like, it's just not good. And so basically, they're like, hey, Professor, and Professor's like, oh my God, thank you for coming to rescue me. Y'all got a plan to get the fuck up out of here? Like, no, we're just coming to join Magneto. But essentially, they're just under the manipulation of whatever that Moira had to give them the juice to whatever she gave to Magneto to manipulate him or whatever. I mean, it's a comic book stuff, man. Like, completely. Nobody's reading this being like, oh shit, the X-Men are going to join Magneto. I mean, come on, bro. So, then this flips to, and then this is getting to a point here where I was just like, okay, what? Because this starts to get kind of confusing here.
So I have a question. Is this actually a scene shift? I guess it is because the border changes, right? But is it not possible that this ending sequence with the X-Men Blue and Professor is part of the simulation that also then we see where the gold team is all jobbed out?
And that's what my note says too. Is like, is that this, or was there like we're just shifting over to the danger room and they're just watching back the tapes where they're getting their asses kicked. Like that was my interpretation of it, but it's not 100% clear.
Because I can't remember how like 3 picks up if they're already brainwashed or what.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you look through the window where it was Jean and Storm, it looks like they're looking into the danger room and seeing that. But and the Acolytes are there too. So I mean, I don't know. It's not necessarily clear. But yeah, that's basically it. Like they're like, hey, let's run all these simulations where we go and fight these people. But they're like, hey, can we beat Cyclops' team and the Acolytes and Magneto? Yeah, Storm is like, I mean, maybe we'd be good for one at a time, but maybe not all, you know. But again, they gave Storm a shitty ass team. Look at
right. That team is the weak as water. I mean, that team is awful.
They gave her a shitty team, man.
Wait a minute, but Colossus on that team too, right?
Colossus has got to account for something.
He fights at excellent.
He got good fighting, maybe at his time.
And against Magneto, obviously.
Right. He's worthless against Magneto.
Yeah.
Right. So, and actually, if you show him a girl over the age of 13, he might lock up too. So, he might be fucked.
Oh, man.
So,
can I get? Was that a line step?
Yeah, I definitely.
Okay, that's
probably
that's what.
That wasn't that bad.
Well,
it was funny. I don't even care.
In Hutch's defense, Kitty Pryde and Zazie, and I mean, Zazie's age was undetermined, but she put it on him, and he was done. So, I'm saying, you know, maybe there could be something to it. Yeah, I mean, this is a regular ass Marvel girl at this point in time with her powers. I think in theory, in the retcon world or whatever, you have 2 Omega level mutants on this team. But at this time,
but unfortunately, one of them is the last one that got picked for the kickball team.
Damn.
I'm just saying that it's maybe. Oh man. I mean, maybe in modern times, that's something. But at this point, this team is just awful.
They foresaw their own ass whooping. I mean,
that's pretty bad.
I mean,
simulating
Marvel girl couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You're like, sorry, Jean, you're gonna have to become the Phoenix again, and we're all fine.
Yeah, we're gonna need
basically.
Bitch, we're trying to win. Yeah, it's just bad. And so, Nick Fury shows up on the cell phone communications for Forge or whatever. They would be friends, by the way. Like that's some.
They would.
Shit.
They both voted for Trump.
They definitely voted for Trump. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And
it's like he might have added a pouch or 2 since he's last.
Exactly.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
For his MAGA head.
One room for pouches.
Well, since we're playing that game or whatever, Warren voted for Trump too. Worthington. I mean, maybe Arcane, but Warren Worthington definitely did.
Right, of course.
Yeah, and Banshee probably did too. The whole fucking MAGA.
Banshee can't vote.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is he an American citizen?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. He can't vote.
No.
Hey, he could be naturalized. He probably voted, man.
Professor X probably voted for Trump. Shit.
Yeah, that's probably. Yeah, damn.
Probably. He had a little money.
So yeah, basically he's like, hey man, look, y'all better get out there before the Soviets blow the whole world up and shit. They got a Death Star that blows up planets. So before they get to Alderaan, y'all might want to get up there and do something on Asteroid M before everything gets blown up. And so we get to look to camera scene where Storm, was like, hey, we got to go up there and fight, and you gotta go win the whole fucking thing, fucking Major League, man. And but look at that team. Golly, they suck.
They suck.
They suck.
And think about, like, spoiler alert, their first recruit is Bishop.
Yeah.
So they go from this team to this team plus Bishop.
Yeah.
No offensive capabilities whatsoever.
And Bishop
their best quality might be their hair.
Yeah. And Bishop was a Blacks for Trump character, by the way. So he voted for Trump too. Fuck that. Anyway, but yeah, it's just
he
not
allowed to vote in the future.
So it's just a mess. It's just a mess. And Ice Cube, wow, he voted for Trump too. Ice Man called it, and he's like, "Hey, we're about to get creamed." He's like, "Yeah, that's it. So we're still gonna go, and we're gonna go fight, and that's it." And again, it's to be concluded. And this is something that I did not approve, but I do like about these older comic books. Is like, there were stories that started within stories, and then it ended. It wasn't like this big open-ended thing where you had to wait, 7, 8, 12 issues for the shit to end. It was just like, you know what, tell this story in like a couple of books and then move on to a different story. I mean,
this would be a 12-part crossover with tie-ins across the Marvel universe in modern times.
12-part, yeah.
And 8 of them are fluff issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, we're going to tell this story about Magneto coming back. We're going to do it in 3 issues, one like a book and a half, and everybody else on regular books, and then, regular size issues. And that's it. They're going to move on to a different.
There's no Spider-Man or Deadpool slip-ins either. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest feature is Nick Fury, white Nick Fury, by the way. And that's it. It's pretty impressive in that regard. And I think, that's something that just modern comics have just completely lost, because they're going to tell this story forever. And I was trying to catch up on some of my modern reading too. And I was reading that X-Force book that came out of Dawn of X, and they're still telling essentially a version of the same story. They're on book like 12. I'm like,
good grief.
I can't anymore, man. Like, it's just too much, Again, there's not that much reading attached to it, but still, I don't know. All right, y'all. But that's issue 2 of the X-Men from 1991. What did y'all think looking back? It kind of feels like filler, but not, because a lot is actually happening in the book.
I think, as it concludes, it does have more of a purpose. Like I said, I ain't seen that book in 20-some years. Right. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
They are laying the plot, though, for when Magneto does come back in issues 24, 25, or well, it actually comes back in the other book and it concludes in 25. I mean, they're laying the groundwork for that, the Magneto Protocols, which is a huge issue at that point in time, Brother Davis.
Yeah, the government intervention in this whole thing is a big part of the story, and the international response. I feel like they could have, I don't know, the Acolytes start off on some pretty shaky footing. I mean, like we talked about how we didn't exactly know who they were, but given Magneto his crew, he hasn't had one for a while. So I mean, the biggest part of this is getting Magneto back as a villain after a long time of being sort of a tweener, wrestling term, I think. Fuck you, Hulk Hogan. But yeah, and I do like about this is you do, as sorry as they are, you start to draw the gold team back into it and figure out kind of what this new dynamic of the book is. And it's got, like you said, it is a class, it is a sort of a bounded story, but in true Claremont fashion, we get a couple panels where we're setting up the next story, and it's got that sort of continuity.
Way ahead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
which he doesn't get to.
Yeah. So, I still think, this is what I think I'm, kind of more comfortable with as far as a comic book of, just, a story with the classic kind of characteristics of all the folks. And just, it's not as, didn't get me as hyped as the first one, but, it's a solid continuation.
Yeah. No, I think what they knew in 1991 is something that I think they still struggle with now, Sandman, is that, like, hey, these are the characters that we care about, that people care about, and I know they can become stale. I mean, again, the freaking crossovers between wrestling and comic books is really, really there sometimes. I'm like, you know what? Damn, man, I'm tired of seeing Hulk Hogan matches. Fuck him. I'm tired of seeing Ric Flair do the same shit in every single match, like for 20 years. But when you give us the Renegade, when you give us, what was that dude that was the Mortal Kombat character? Like when you try to make new stars, but you don't put any, what was his name? Sub-Zero? No.
Mortis. No, Mortis was his foe. Glacier.
Glacier.
Glacier. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, Glacier. When you give us like all these people that nobody cares about. So when you give us, Rock Slide and Glob, and you get like, I mean, again, somebody obviously must like these characters as they keep showing up, but it is definitely not me, you, and us. And that's why I'm always confused. Like, why do y'all keep pushing these dudes? Wrestling term, fuck Hulk Hogan. Why do y'all keep pushing these people when you know most people still want to see freaking Hogan come down there? Fuck him. To come down the aisle and rip his shirt off. Like, seriously, though, tell me, like, I think they discovered, like, hey, man, these are the people that they care about. Let's push them and like stop doing that. And then I think it got to a point where like, oh man, we got to make new stars or whatever, but nobody cares about these people. Like,
well, I think in another way too is like, to me, one of the distinguishing things about the Avengers is the fact that they do have a rotating lineup, but every book doesn't have to be that way. Like, it's not an event when there's a new X-Men team. It just happens to be those are the people that are in the story. And I think that could be, you know, at this point now they have formal teams and things like that. And so any change would be significant, but it still could be, yeah, there's like 50 people at the school and this particular part of the story only involves them. But that doesn't mean you have to like reform it as a team and relaunch the book. Yeah. To me, that's a characteristic of the Avengers. And at this point in the X-Men lore, they're really not, they you know, that's not really what they do. And they have had more of a kind of natural evolution as people have come and go. And in a lot of those cases, they didn't necessarily leave the book. They just weren't on the team, other than when they fleshed them out to make other team books. So it definitely has now got to the point where it's like, well, who's on the X-Men team? Yeah. It's, you know, the whole idea of the X-Men as a team, even though they reinforce it so strongly, it should be more the case that it's like they're all part of the same school, and it's just there's whatever set of them is doing whatever they're doing at the time.
They fucked up when they got to that point where they were like, oh man, yeah, there's 15 that, yeah, well, it was, yeah, like, but then it doesn't become special. Like, a part of them being special and homo superior was that there weren't that many of them, and you know, that made them like, you know, more special. But then once you made like, oh, there's 15 million mutants, and you know, I mean, who in the world could have 15 million people with 15 essentially different power? You know what I mean? Like, it was like, come on, man. And then you just kept doing that. It's I always liken it to the fact it was like, hey, man, we didn't need to know about Zion in the Matrix. We didn't need to see that shit. We didn't need to see none of that stuff. Like, once you peeled back the layers of that onion, and you saw how stinky it was.
It was better in your own mind once you saw it, there's a bunch of young people dancing. Well, no wonder we're fucked.
Oh, the dance orgy, you mean?
Yeah, right. No wonder we're fucked as a human society.
Tonight we rise. So yeah, I always come back to that. I was like, man, you know what? And again, it's probably because we grew up with these characters or whatever, but I just don't understand why they continually try to put, I mean, again, I see younger people on Twitter, they love freaking X-23, but we didn't grow up on her, you know.
X-23 is awful.
Yeah, Honey Badger and like all these other people that we didn't grow up on. You know, we weren't even not even grow up. We weren't even reading the books then. And so whenever those people became popular, it was like, you know, wrestling when I was in college. I didn't see a minute of that shit. So times 10, I didn't read any of those comic books where those people became popular. So why do I even care about, you know?
And they're all gonna die anyway. You know that's coming too.
Yeah, but now they bring them all back. Now we're about to
bring them all back
again from Krakoa. So
it is comic books. Yeah,
it's fucking bullshit. All right. So that's issue 2, y'all. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, all around. Sandman.
I mean, as comic books go, this is about as comic booky as it gets. It's action from the first page to the last, pretty much. Yeah. So I give it a thumbs up. It's got the same Claremont overcrowding, bring the thesaurus issues you always got with his books. But, you know, I agree with Beavis. It was not quite as good as the first issue, but I would still give it a thumbs up. Yeah.
Hutch.
Wolverine didn't get one good attack in the whole book.
I mean, he was great. I don't even think he got a line of dialogue.
There were no robots.
Posing a lot.
He was awful.
Yeah. No robots.
compared to the other shit we've been reading, this is a big thumbs up.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, but you got it in the frame of what it is. It was better than Defenders, whatever I read at lunch. I assure you of that.
They fought Dr. Egghead in the Defenders, man. I don't want to think about it.
It was bad.
Only thing I remember about Defenders is they had probably one of the baddest ass covers I've ever seen. I bet Hutch knows the one I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And I had a whole bunch of them, or somebody had a whole bunch with Moon Dragon on there, which is one of the worst characters of all time.
Moon Dragon.
That's an awful character. Yeah.
And related, but not. Also, reading the Defenders is like reading the Invaders. It's just like, well, it seems like it's a good idea until
Wait a minute, I had the Invaders too.
Your camera muted you. Brother Beavis, before he gets unbubbed there, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs
yeah, I'm thinking about all the other books that are.
I'm sure you did.
Thinking of all the times I've said thumbs in the middle. This is, I think, like Big Hutch said and Sandman both said, like, this is way better than all the sorry books we read, even if it's not as good as the last one. So yeah, they've got to go thumbs up.
Yeah, I give it a thumbs up. I give it a thumbs up. At the conclusion, I mean, spoiling 20 plus years of freaking comic books or whatever, the conclusion makes comic book sense. Once we get through issue 3 next week, I mean, it makes comic book sense. So, I'm fine with it. So, yeah, it's good stuff. But again, it's really like a prelude to like the worst middle chapters of a book that you could possibly read, because the next
22
6 issues or so.
I have no memory of those next issues.
Man,
you
there's
got memories of them. They're bad.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Because I got memories of them.
Yeah. And Gene created some psychic circuit breakers in your mind to prevent you from accessing those memories. That's why.
Well, thank her.
Books. They look good though. I mean, they look great, but the plot is shit awful. Yeah, if you're a big Omega Red fan, you are definitely going to be upset about this podcast.
He's over here.
Omega Red fans.
He's here.
So we'll start to wrap this up, y'all. Remember, you'll be able to find this podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Rate, review, subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching these on here. The numbers indicate that few of you are, so that's fine too. Yeah, so do that. We'll be back with issue 3. Hopefully, there's democracy after tomorrow. We're not really sure, so we're assuming that there may be some version of democracy left after the election tomorrow. If you haven't done out and voted yet, I don't know what you're waiting on, but go out and vote tomorrow. And
if you waited this long, don't vote now.
Yeah, at this point, don't send in a mail-in ballot. Yeah, got to do what you got to do, and we'll be on the other side of this, next week, getting through issue 3 of the X-Men from 91. Who was the president in 91? Bush Jr.?
Bush the first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bush the first.
Or no, second. No, Daddy Bush. 91?
Yeah, Bush the first.
Yeah,
it would have been. Yeah, Reagan is 80 to 88, and then Bush 88 92.
Oh, that's right. We only had one term though.
Well, on his way out too.
I think Bush the first was in charge that second term.
Yeah,
but that's another story.
Yeah, different podcast. So, but all right. Yeah. So, as the X-Men the animated series starts, music starts to play us out. Again, I'm the producer and I'm signing off. Sandman, go ahead and sign off.
All right, people. Gotcha. See you next time.
For sure. Brother Beavis, sign off.
I'll see you guys next time.
For sure. Hutch, don't get fired.
Omega Red is the best.
Can't even keep a straight face.
That's a mic mute. All right, we'll see everybody on the other side. Peace.
Peace.